Plan B Terraform, a super exciting new game that I want to showcase to you today. This is only version 0.5. I got a private key from the developers, so a big thanks there, but this is not a sponsored video. And I have a great news for you is that if you like what you're seeing, you'll be able to play it yourself very soon. At the time I'm recording this video, next week you will be able to play a first demo on Steam, and then a few weeks after they're planning to enter into early access, but as I hope to be able to show you today, you'll see that the game already has tons of depth, so once again quite excited for this one. So what is this game? Well, basically the Earth has had a very hard time. Because of global warming, there was catastrophic consequences. Humanity now needs a plan B, which is the title, right, of the game, to ensure its survival. And this is in some ways the opposite of something like satisfactory. The world is barren, there's nothing left basically. And we need to develop it, but also we need to terraform it to become fertile again, to have water, to have trees, right? And I really love that twist. It's not Terra Nil, where you just need to terraform, but you're not growing. And again, it's not satisfactory, where you basically kill all the nature to develop. It's a bit of both. We'll use some terraforming devices such as greenhouse gas factories in order to warm up the atmosphere, to melt the ice, to start having some rain, some rivers, then some trees. But at the same time, we also want to grow our industries, grow our cities. And this is not small growth we're talking about. The goal is basically to move from less than 100 survivors on the whole planet to millions of population. You need to extract, mine minerals, transform them, build factories, and then transport them with drones, trucks, trains, transport them to other factories, but also to your cities, so that your cities can have their needful fields and grow. So this is resource management, city building, and simulation with the terraforming. Let's now dive really into the game. I will show you first the quick tutorial that you have at the beginning, and then I will also show you a more advanced city that I have built so far. And you'll see that the game quickly becomes a lot more complex and a lot more deeper than you might expect. Let's give a name to our planet, GC for Gamer Consultant, and dive in. Okay, we have a newly discovered planet. Here is a beautiful planet with a lot of ice at the poles and nothing else, right? The grid is based on hexagon, as you can see, and this is one building per hexagon. So this is how it's gonna work. We have right now a map over here. We have 3 cities, New Beijing, New Miami, and New Hyderabad. You can zoom out and see the whole planet if you wish. Maybe in the future we'll even have multiple planets per game, but anyway, this is our planet. At the top we can see we have 9 inhabitants. There's like 3 inhabitants in each of my cities. We have the temperature. Right now it's minus 58 degrees Celsius, so definitely a big problem. By the way, we're in year 2040, so it's not too far, This could happen soon. We have no pressure, there's no gas into the atmosphere, and that's why our temperature is so bad. We're in year 1, day 111, we can pause that, we won't accelerate in the future. These are the seasons in the northern and southern hemisphere. Over in our map, we also have different views, right? This is the default views, and we have the mineral views, where we can see different minerals. For example, this is sulfur, this is iron, here we have fluorite, and we'll discover some others later. And lastly, the last view is to show the water and the wet areas. We don't have any right now. This is a big problem, obviously, in the future, but we'll solve that. This is why we need to terraform the planet, of course. At the bottom over here, we have a small tutorial that will follow, but if you want, you can also click on the question mark over here to get a good introduction of what the game is and some of the controls. But I'll show you live, so hopefully you don't need to do that. And lastly, on the left over here, we have all of our buildings. There's shortcuts for pretty much everything in this game, and some really good one I'll show you too. But anyway, let's start building. So we need to build an extractor, which is sort of a miner, right? Place it over iron. So you can zoom out and find some iron. The iron is the red one. So we can go over here, and all of this is iron, every single tile. For example, this tile has 448. This one over here only has 138. So these are limited. This is not infinite. To be honest, I'm not sure yet if I hate or love this part of the game, meaning that this is, limited. I think it could be great, for example, to have a mode where it's limited and a mode where it's not limited. But anyway, let's dive in. We have our extractors over here right now. We only have 6. We're gonna build more, of course, in the future, don't worry. Let's place them over here. They said only 1, but I'm gonna put 3 right away. And we're gonna now build a depot. The depot is over here in the middle. This way this will be connected, but to connect it, we actually need to choose what resource to store on it. For those depot level 1, you can only store one resource and it need to be on the tile next to it, but in the future this will change. You can see now they have been connected, there's those arrows, and we have a drone over here that's going to go pick up the resources when they're ready. One thing that's really great in this game, if you press your middle mouse, this will copy the building with the setting. So this will create, a depot where iron is already selected. So in particular, if I want, for example, to copy this very quickly, this will be very useful. Okay, next one is the factory, right? We're gonna put a factory next to the depot, and in the factory, similar, we can choose what to do. Right now, we only have the steel bar. Can guarantee you this will very quickly have a lot more recipes. So it's 3 iron for 1 steel bar, and that's why I put 3 over here. It's also telling us this will be an annual production of 30, which sometimes is important. For example, in your city, they will tell you, I need 10 per year of this resource. So you can look at your annual production and see if you're making enough or not. So anyway, we've done that. That's a good start. With this, we're going to start creating some steel bars. Now the very basic tutorial is actually finished, but we move into a bit more advanced tutorial, which is levels of your city. A bit similar to Anno 1800, you're gonna have levels, and in each level, you unlock new buildings, new resources. This way, you're not overwhelmed at once. So we are at level 1. To get to level 2, we need to build 10 extractors and place them on the ground. And if you're stuck, they will give you some hints, or you can also, join my Discord community. You can find the link in the video description below, and I can help you. Let me show you what to do. Right now we have a factory creating steel. And as you can see, this is full. This is in red because we're not storing the steel. So let's make sure that we store the steel with a new depot where we say, put the steel bars. Now the steel bars being taken by the drone and delivered over here. So what do we do next? Well, we've used those first 2 buildings, but not the last one, the assembly plant. This is to create final product. So we're gonna put it after our steel bars. And once again, you can choose a recipe. Right now, we can only do the extractor or the depot. That's perfect. We want to be doing extractors right now because we need to create 10 and we need to use some steel bars. Okay, let's put some over here. And as I said before, you can press your middle mouse to just copy whatever you need. And this way, this is, a new production chain, exactly the same, but very quickly, right? It didn't take us a lot of time to do it at all. Okay, and 4 more to finish this objective. And here it is. We have level 2. So we've unlocked some new recipes. In our factories, we can now make mechanical parts. And in our assemblies, we can make some factories and assembly plants. Now, if I go to my factory, I can see the mechanical parts. And to make mechanical parts, we need steel bars. It's not iron, it's steel bars. So this is what we're doing over here, right? Iron into steel, and then steel into mechanical parts. So one more depot like this, but this one needs to have mechanical parts. And then we can put an assembly plant, and this assembly plant, you can start doing, for example, the factory, later on the assembly plant. Okay, I've built a couple more extractors and factories. Now we do need assembly plants, so let's switch this one to assembly plants. And then with that, I'll be able to create, a new chain, because the best is just to have one chain for each of the building, right? Or even several chains for each, instead of having to change them. The more you expand, the quicker you can grow, those type of things. So we also do need to make sure to create some depots. Those depots are similar to the extractors, it's just steel bars. So I changed this one over here. Okay, so it is, we are now on level 3. We have unlocked concrete, a new raw material. And with this concrete, we'll be able to make some roads, some road stops, also start creating some trucks and supply center. Because now we need to start supplying to a city. We have 3 cities. The closest is that one over here. And we're going to start supplying it with some resources. In the meantime, I'll also make sure to have one production chain for every building. We have over here the depot, we have the extractor. Here, this is a new one to make the trucks. The trucks are using mechanical parts, right? So it's iron into steel, and then steel into mechanical parts, and then the trucks. And then on that side, we have the factory and the assembly part. Cool. So now we can move indeed to the new buildings, the roads, and the supply center. So what do we need for that? We need concrete. If you build a factory, you can look at it and you'll see that concrete is over here using sulfur, right? You need to find some sulfur. Sulfur is the yellow, for example, this one. Okay, so let's go over here. We have those 2. And we continue, similarly, we're gonna put some extractors. 1, 2, 3. One depot with the sulfur. And then a factory to transform that. Similar to the iron, you can see it's 3 sulfur for 1 concrete, annual production of 30. And then of course we need to store this concrete. It is concrete. And what to do with this concrete? Well, we need to create some roads, some road stops, and I'll explain to you how they work. And we also want some supply centers. So let's move to the assembly part. And here, let's choose first road, then do the same for the others. Okay, it is, I built over here one for the supply center, over here one for the road stop, and then another one for the roads, because obviously you're gonna need a lot more roads than road stops, for example. Now we can accelerate the time for a few days in game, you know, it doesn't change much, especially at this point. Of course, I'm sure that in the future we'll do things like how quickly can you reach certain milestone, but for now I just want to show you the game. Okay, we have some roads, some road stop, and some supply center. The supply center needs to be linked to the city, right? We want to supply to the city, so we're gonna place it just next to it. And now if we click on the supply center, we can see it is supplying the city, but insufficient, right? We're not sending anything to it. For now, the city is very small, so it's only requesting concrete to build new houses, if you wish, with an annual demand of 10. Once again, this will change in the future. Your city grows, the demand will grow. And of course, we'll also have many more requests and not just concrete in the future. So to deliver concrete, now how are we going to do that? Well, this is where the roads come into play. We're going to have some depots, of course. We need to be able to deliver, right? I'm gonna put a few more just because I know in the future we'll need to deliver more. Similarly, I'm gonna put a few stops because I know we're gonna need in the future to deliver a bit more. And then we're gonna start using roads. Very easy, you know, it connects itself. And then, you know, we're gonna have a road to where we want to go. So we need some concrete. So let's create a new concrete factory, maybe just over there in the north of the city. Simple one like this. Storage of concrete. Sorry, I didn't mean concrete, I meant sulfur. Then we need the factory. That's going to transform into concrete. Then we have a concrete over here. And now we can have a stop and the road all the way. Here it is. Connected. Perfect. Then you click on set destination and then you click on where you want to deliver. Well, to make it simple, let's use this one at the end over here. And what do we want to deliver? We want to deliver concrete. And then lastly, you decide how many trucks you want, right? We have 25 available. You can definitely give more. For example, 10. And the more you give, the more your annual transport capacity will increase. This will of course also depend on the distance, right? If it's very close, then you don't need as many trucks to deliver 24. 24, and you know, we can look over here again, this was 10, right? So 24 should be enough as long as we produce 24 too, right? We need to check over here. This is an annual production of 30, as long as we provide enough sulfur. And then we can check, you know, here, this is 15, this is 15. So just two of these should already be 30. So we should start to make enough, hopefully. The trucks are over here, you know, this one, for example, is full, right? So it's gonna deliver or not, because I forgot to say over here, this is concrete, sorry. So this one should deliver, hopefully. Here it is. The drone has taken it and now deliver it to the depot. And now you can see this is going up. The supply is also increasing. Of course, gonna take just a minute to really stabilize. Okay, we now have some reserve. So this is perfect, 100%. And when that starts, you know, you start growing. And now we have some buildings. You know, we're moving 5 people. We're gonna have more and more, you know, houses, buildings. The city will organically grow. 7 out of 10. And it is level 4. We've unlocked even more. And as I said, you know, this will get more and more complex. Also because right now we only need to supply things to the city, but then we're also gonna have waste management and many other things, right? So it's gonna get a lot more complex, but also a lot deeper and of course a lot more interesting. You know, for the city to grow, we need to make sure it is supplied, and we can check it needs, you know, some concrete and some O2, some oxygen, right? It is indeed good for people to have oxygen. But I think now it's a good time to jump to my other save so I can show you a lot more complexity, a lot more deeper gameplay. If you're still watching, don't hesitate to smash the like button, share also in the comments. Are you going to download the demo? Do you want me to do a full let's play or some tips and tricks videos on this game? Don't hesitate to share in the comments below. But yeah, this is my other save that you can see here, 66. So it's not too far, but we've advanced a bit and we have more than 3,000 of population. The next objective is 10,000. It gets more and more complex. I need to give it some reinforced concrete, not the normal concrete, reinforced one, some oxygen and some high-tech parts. But on top of the supply, I also need to take care of the waste disposal. So over here I have a waste disposal building that is creating metal waste. And this metal waste then needs to be sent into a recycle center, which will create in turn some steel bar and some aluminium. And what's very important over here, and you'll see some of this complexity, this will stop working if one of those things is full. You know, if I'm full either on steel bar or aluminium, this will stop recycling the metal waste, right? So I need to also do something with those steel bars and aluminium bars. Similarly, this atmosphere extractor I just mentioned before, right? It's creating carbon and oxygen. We need the oxygen for a city, but if I don't do something with the carbon, then this will get full and this will stop. And then many of the new resources, for example, these high-tech parts, they also start to need multiple resources. For example, this one needs aluminium and polymer bars. So the resource management become a lot harder. You obviously also start to get more and more buildings. In the assembly plan and the factories, you start getting more recipes, right? Including now, on top of the trucks, we've also unlocked trains to go on rails. And we've also started to terraform the planet. You know, I'm sending some gas into the atmosphere. Right now only one, but for my next objective I also need to start to do the second one, and with that the temperature started to rise. Instead of minus 58, it's minus 48. It's still not a great place for vacation, but we're making some progress. You also start unlocking stronger building. For example, I have a depot Mark II. So instead of having one drone like this one, I have two drones. So of course they can transport and store more resources, but on top of this they can also reach resources further. Mark 1 depot could only be linked to factories or resources that were on the tile next to it. For the Mark 2 they can go to 2 tiles, so that creates also a lot more possibilities. Here is my second city, definitely smaller, there's only 500 people in it. Now a couple of things I did want to share with you and also with the developers, because I know they'll be watching this video, on what could be missing, what could make this game even better in the future. I think the first element is something around the statistic menu, a bit similar to Anno 1800, right, where you can see at a glance how you're doing in terms of production versus consumption. I think this is slightly missing. The second one is potentially some warnings. I think it will be great to be able to set up some warnings. For example, to say, can I have a warning if this depot is more than 50% full or is completely empty, right? Then I get a warning, I get a notification, and I know I need to fix this. Very similar to what Captain of Industry has, for example. Then the next one is probably a hard one to implement, but I would love to be able, for my trains, trucks, and things like this, to be able to set things like wait to load or wait to unload. For example, wait to be full to load and wait to be completely empty before you unload, and then you go back. This way we can have a lot less trucks on the road and I think manage logistics a bit easier. And then the last thing I really want is a bit of help around what resources I needed to build things. For example, hovering over the rail stop, I don't know what I need to make it. So I'd love, for example, when you hover over it, that you see, you know, an assembly with the recipe. That way I know I need to build an assembly, and then in the assembly I need to give, you know, concrete and whatever else. But apart from that, I think this game definitely has a lot of potential. I'm really keen to spend more time into the game to see what the developers are going to bring next. There is also a very active Discord community with the developer on it, answering questions, sharing updates. So don't hesitate to join. I will put it in the video description below. I'll also put the Steam page if you want to wishlist it, to have it ready for next week when they will release the demo. And again, if you like this video, please don't hesitate to smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.